conspiracy theorists will tell you that this was all a part of the plan and everything's just falling into place, and it sure seems like things are falling into place perfectly. I'm going to tell you what I mean in just a second here, but the 49ers have fixed a major problem. If you're new here, I'm Nate. Love talking about those 49ers. Please consider a like and sub if you haven't yet. I very much appreciate it. Let's get straight into what John Lynch said about Christian McCaffrey, and listen carefully because there's some really interesting stuff in here that we're going to be talking about, how this is going to play out perfectly. This is what John Lynch said on KNBR today. This is what John Lynch had to say. Give it a listen and stick around with me because it's crazy how good this is actually setting up from 3+ different angles. It's absolutely bananas. Let's get into it.
Well, the ideal scenario, versus Tampa Bay is that he continues to, we keep using this terminology, but ramp up, which just means increase the volume of work that he's doing. He's been doing that, and he hasn't had any setbacks. And so the hope is we take it up another notch this week, provided that goes well. We're kind of opening that window, allowing him to go back to practice. IR players can work to the side. They can't get involved in practice. And so Christian has been kind of on that plan. And now, that you hopefully that you increase the volume this week. You hope you have no setbacks. I'd expect it to kind of go that way. I'd pray that it goes that way because he's done really well. He hasn't had any of those. And if so, then Monday we hope to have him practicing with our team. And let
me pause there, and that would suggest then that could be available for Tampa Bay, or would be ideally available for Tampa Bay if everything goes well. He's practicing with the team on Monday. That's kind of insinuated there. You're going to hear more of that later in a moment, so I'm not going to, belabor that point. But the timing of this could not be any better. I understand. I fully understand, and I swear there's some other good points coming in a second. So if you're not excited yet, just stick around long enough to get excited because there's some sick stuff here. But I swear to you guys that this situation almost feels manufactured. I've had comments from people, messages from people saying this feels like it was all a part of the plan. The Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch sat down and they looked through their telescope way off into the future, and then they figured out, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to pretend like Christian McCaffrey's injured. We're going to even fly him out to Germany, and we're going to make a plan where it looks like he's doing some shady stuff over there. But then we're going to have a backup plan where it just kind of like there's an excuse for why he's in Germany, and the specialists he's seeing, he's not doing any shady stuff, but if stuff happens while he's there. Anyway, if that's the case, hats off to you, John. Hats off to you, Kyle, because this could not work out better if Christian McCaffrey hits the ground running and is 100% healthy from this point to the end of the season. That would be pretty darn impressive. That would be pretty awesome. So, sure, maybe that's the thing, but I don't think that's the thing, and we're going to listen to John Lynch a little bit more, but it doesn't really matter whether it's conspiracy or not because the reality is still the same. If Christian McCaffrey is coming into the season and starting to get hot in the next few weeks and even could have a ramp up of a couple games to get there, oh my goodness, just imagine what could happen. Let's keep listening, though, because this next thing that he says is pretty exciting.
That'd be a really good deal for us. We all know he's the reigning offensive player of the year. He's a special game-changing player for us. Now, just opening his window doesn't mean he has to play. You have 3 weeks then in which he can activate him. So, we'll play this by ear. We'll listen to Christian. We'll listen to the experts, and hopefully, very soon he's back playing with us on the field, and then we got to be judicious about how much we use him. And
whoa, did you hear that? Then we have to be judicious about how much we use him. That is interesting because Kyle Shanahan said before the season started that they were planning on figuring out how to better manage his reps. And in doing that, managing the touches for Christian McCaffrey, Kyle himself said it's really hard because he never wants to come off the field. To which everybody looked to their left and looked to their right and was like, Kyle, you're the coach, man. You're the coach. Don't let this happen. Don't let him go out there and hurt himself by running too hard. Don't let him have 5,000 touches in a season because it's not going to end well for the guy. And you know what? Maybe, just maybe, John Lynch just said it, maybe they've figured it out. And it could not come at a better time in terms of a team standpoint because Christian McCaffrey was like, Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo. Christian McCaffrey coming onto the field now, while the 49ers have supreme confidence now in what J.P. Mason and Isaac Guerendo could do, could not be a better situation for limiting reps. The situation plays out where you've got an injury, and that's playing into to a good reason to limit reps. You've got the coach and you've got the general manager who are already ahead of the season saying we need to limit this guy's reps and we got to figure out a way to do it. And on top of that, now you've got a good backup and a good secondary to that guy who can actually provide you some decent snaps. And that, I think, should be enough for Christian McCaffrey to stay healthy. Now, there's more to it. This story just keeps getting better. Keep listening. We're going to get to another question and some answers there, and we're going to talk about J.P. Mason and Isaac Guerendo. There's so much hope here in terms of how this is all coming together perfectly.
That's a hard thing to do because he's so darn good. But, we have been, I guess, kind of buoyed by the fact that we have some depth there as well with J.P. Mason running the way he's run. I think the bye week comes at a good time for J.P. as well. Been dealing with the shoulder, and then Isaac Guerendo.
Let's pause there for a second. The bye week comes at a great time for who? J.P. Mason. This is really key, and it's actually embarrassing to me that it did not cross my mind until I heard it out of the general manager's mouth himself. But yes, you're absolutely right. Jordan Mason has been really, really good to start the season. Then the last 2 games, since the injury, little off. Not quite exactly what you'd expect from him. And there's a whole really interesting conversation there about how he's running and how he's squared up pre-injury and how he's kind of turning away and not embracing contact and engaging contact and pushing back in the last 2 games because of the injury. So I think that's actually the factor, and I think that John Lynch is absolutely put the nail on the head here, or hit the nail on the head in saying that this could not come at a better time for Jordan Mason to get healthy, because he's clearly healthy enough that he's in the conversation for starting every week. He gets out there, he's running, he's hitting guys, he's not feeling 100%, they pull him back off. And so I think it makes perfect sense. This is the greatest time of the season it could hit for him. Now, here's what he had to say about Isaac Guerendo.
Guerendo, really showing that he's getting better each week. You see the explosive speed and power. So we've got some depth there that
and I'm going to let him keep going. I promise I'm going to let John Lynch, but we got to talk about Isaac Guerendo here, who's not just showing strong, as John Lynch said there, he's peaking at the absolute right moment right now. And I say it's the right moment. Obviously, you want your RB1 to be peaking for a large majority of the season, but you really need them to be hitting hard when it comes to the playoffs, right? That's when you need health. And here's the deal. Isaac Guerendo has a very, very, very tight window. Jordan Mason gets hurt, it's Isaac Guerendo's window. When you're RB6 or whatever he actually is, when you count in like guys like Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, then Jordan Mason, I guess, whatever. He's 4. 6 is a little extreme. I don't know what I'm thinking of, but whatever. When you're that guy who's way down the depth chart, okay, then you're in a position to be RB1 for a short period of time. This is his shot. And Isaac Guerendo, his entire career in college, same deal, was always backup, was always kind of fighting for his starting role when he got the opportunity. So he's very comfortable in that scenario, I'm sure, and he's showing right now very strongly. And if there's ever a time for you to be peaking and finding the rhythm, now's that time to find the rhythm, because when Christian McCaffrey does come back and all of a sudden your reps get shortened very, very small, it's going to be anytime he's called on, he's going to want to show really strongly. So for him to get these reps and get this experience, I think is absolutely critical. I'm really excited that he's finding that rhythm right now. It couldn't come at a better time, as you're probably, I would imagine, Christian McCaffrey, if he is healthy to play, will play against Tampa Bay and will have very, very few snaps. You're going to see him out there in maybe some red zone situations. I'm not really sure how that's going to play out. We'll see. But you can't, he's a guy that it's hard to take him off the field, right? So once he starts getting firm set in the system and he's feeling really healthy and everything's going well, it's going to be very difficult for Isaac Guerendo to get playing time. And I think that's just going to be the way that it is going forward for the rest of this season. So that's what he has. So this is what he has right now in front of him, and to be peaking right now is absolute perfect timing. Let's keep going.
We can kind of manage Christian back into this thing, provided everything goes well, and just hoping that it continues to go well so we can see him back on the field here soon.
Well, that leads.
Okay, and I want to skip the first half of his question because it takes too long. We'll keep going.
Next week, you guys hit the field in Tampa. Would he be on some sort of a snap count, or is it he's gone through these 2 weeks and he's ready to go and we're going to use Christian like we would normally, but it's different this year because you have guys that can spell him?
Yeah, I think with a guy like Christian, I think regardless whether we had guys that could spell him or not, he's you do what's right for the player. That's what we'll always do. There's been a really good plan in place this whole time, and we're not there yet. We got to get there, but those things will start to be, okay, here's what he's done in practice. Here's how much volume, provided he's ready to play, that we feel like he can play. And then you're right, we do have the depth where we feel like we can do that, and it's certainly anytime. I think if you have Christian out there for 5 plays, you're a better team.
Mm-hmm. So to wrap all this up in a nice little bow, he just mentioned there that 5 reps, even just 5 reps, you're a better team. With Christian McCaffrey gets 5 reps in the game, right? I think what's really key here for us to understand is if there was ever a scenario where Christian McCaffrey gets a high percentage of the reps, but gets rest reps multiple times throughout a game, this is it. This is your window. If it doesn't happen now, then you have all the evidence you need for the rest of Kyle Shanahan's career to say, rest of Christian McCaffrey's career to say that he is never going to sit when healthy unless injured, right? I mean, that's the only time that he's ever going to sit. I feel like this is the chance right here. And I, like many fans, would love to see the 49ers play Christian McCaffrey like 80% of the snaps, 75% of the snaps. And you know what? When we're up by 17 points like we were last night or a couple nights ago, now that I say, I'm like, that was not last night. When we're up by 17 points and you go into the fourth quarter and, maybe, I don't know, here's an idea. The team holds down the fort a little bit better and you're still up by a lot and you don't need Christian McCaffrey to play. You pull him from the game and you say, you're done, bud. That's it. You did your part. Now Jordan Mason, Isaac Guerendo, they've done their part in the past. They're going to do their part just fine tonight. And he takes his helmet off, he sits down, and, cheers on his team from the sidelines. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see those moments when Christian McCaffrey's not needed to be on the field, that he's not taking any additional punishment. That needs to happen. That seems like bare bones basic. And maybe even a little more rest on top of that, because you do have guys now who can do some stuff. And I understand there's a difference between Christian McCaffrey being on the field than Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerendo. Obviously, there's a huge difference. These guys are incredible. Not trying to say they're not. They're great talents, great athletes. Christian McCaffrey is greater. He's something different. But that does not mean that there are not ways that the 49ers can scheme with these guys, as we're seeing they're figuring out right now. And it's been happening. So 49ers are committed to run the ball. It's part of the gig. You have a star running back who's an incredible receiver as well, who's incredible after the catch. There's so much value coming out of that dude that we don't want to waste it by risking him being on the field when it's unnecessary. That's just how I feel. And I'll tell you right now, I feel like it's necessary that he's on the field. The second he's healthy, get him in the lineup, because the 49ers need a little bit more. And when Dre Greenlaw's healthy, get him in the lineup. The 49ers need a little bit more. Just in mentality, in effort plays, and all those things that happen when you have the best guys out on the field. But it doesn't mean that we should play them until they, beyond when is absolutely necessary. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I look forward to seeing what you have to say about it. This is a crazy week. The timing could not be absolutely better. It is absolutely perfect. It could not be any better for these 3 guys. They're hitting a rest at the absolute right time, and I'm excited for it. What a time to be alive.